Hello, welcome to this webinar on what's new in the 10.2.2 release of Informatica's Enterprise Data Catalog product. I am Gaurav Patrick. I am the Senior Director of Product Marketing for Informatica EDC, and I'm joined in this webinar by Gaurav Patrick, who is the Senior Director of Product Management for the EDC product. I had to start with this since we'll be sharing some roadmap information as Gaurav walks through what's new in 10.2.2. I'm required to share this legal statement indicating that roadmap capabilities obviously are always subject to change at any time. With that said, let's go ahead with the rest of the webinar today. Here's a quick look at the agenda. I'm going to kick this off with some brief introductory comments, and then I'm going to pass this on to Gaurav, who will take a deep look into what are the new capabilities, new features in EDC 10.2.2, followed by a demo, and then we will wrap up after the demo. So our customers are in varying stages of driving digital transformation of their businesses. In some cases, it is to drive new innovation. It could be around enabling predictive or advanced analytics. It could be around modernizing the infrastructure by moving their data and workloads to the cloud. No matter what their objective is, data underpins this transformation, and the ability to find and use the right data at the right time and having trust and confidence in the data is critical for the success of these initiatives. And the first step is obviously knowing what data an enterprise has, and that is why the topic of today's webinar is becoming very critical, and data catalogs are emerging as an important foundational part of the modern enterprise's data architecture. And often data cataloging is turning out to be the first step to drive any data-driven transformation. Just to highlight a few examples from our customer base, a global financial services company used the discovery and tagging capabilities of Informatica's Enterprise Data Catalog to identify key data elements that they wanted to govern and protect as part of their data governance program. A national retailer in the US has implemented a data lake for their data scientists to develop models of predictive analytics. The data catalog enabled them to significantly reduce the time it took for data scientists to find relevant data and enable a much higher level of self-service for analysts across the enterprise. A regional healthcare company is using the data catalog to improve data visibility as they go through mergers and acquisitions, and leveraging this integrated data to deliver new services that improve the quality of patient care. You can see the common theme here. These are use cases that cut across data governance, advanced analytics or self-service analytics, cloud modernization, and improving customer experience. And all of them, in all of these cases, data cataloging has turned out to be a critical early step in enabling this transformation initiatives for these enterprise customers. With that said, I'm going to pass this on to Gaurav so he can walk you through a quick overview of EDC and then get into to taking a deeper look at what's new in the 10.2.2 release of EDC. Gaurav?
Thank you, Dharma. Hi, everyone. My name is Gaurav Patrick, Senior Director of Product Management in the Core Metadata Group at Informatica. I'm the Product Manager responsible for the Enterprise Data Catalog. And today we will be talking about the key use cases that we resolve using the Enterprise Data Catalog. And then I'll be taking you through some of the new capabilities in the version 10.2.2 release, which came out in March of 2019. And then we'll also see a quick demo of these 10.2.2 capabilities. Now, this particular slide talks about the three key use cases for which we've designed the Enterprise Data Catalog. Number one is self-service analytics, where the Enterprise Data Catalog is like the Google for enterprise data assets for data analysts, data scientists, and line of business users who can work with these data sets and then try to find out where the most relevant and most trusted data set for their analytic needs is So here, this is basically a search interface for these users for them to be able to find out where their right data set is. We also partner with Axon for the data governance use case. In the data governance use case, Axon brings in the conceptual data model and the logical data model, basically the business glossary attributes and the logical data set design. And the enterprise data catalog brings in the physical data model. And by marrying all of these three data models together, users can see what's the business context around key data elements that can then be used for managing these data elements or even in self-service data analytics use cases. And the third use case, of course, is the metadata management, the traditional use case for Informatica. This is something that we've been in this space for a very, very long time. The first product coming out in 2002, which dealt with metadata management. And here, Enterprise Data Catalog is the inventory of all the data assets in the environment. The key users are IT users, application developers, mapping developers, data architects, and the Enterprise Data Catalog provides them a comprehensive end-to-end data lineage view, understanding of what data assets are available in the enterprise, as well as provide them with tools so that they can do things like impact analysis, changing a particular data set, what are the things that will get impacted if I delete a column, add a column, change a table, and so on. The way we meet all of these three use cases, if you look at the left, by connecting to a large number of metadata sources like databases, data warehouses, ETL tools, BI tools, big data tools, cloud tools, applications, all of these tools, we have more than 40 plus scanners that Informatica provides out of the box so that you can extract metadata out of them. We get business context by connecting to business glossaries like Informatica Business Glossaries and Informatica Axon. And also combine all of this information with wisdom of the crowd, with knowledge that people have in their heads about data sets and centralize them and make it available in the data asset. This information lands in our AI engine. Now this AI engine is called Claire, and it's responsible for things like structure discovery for semi-structured data sets, for doing type discovery, like trying to identify what kind of column we are looking at, even though it is named differently, clustering of similar columns, unsupervised clustering of similar columns, and providing recommendations. All recommendations on data sets to these different users. This information goes into the knowledge graph. So this is an abstract metadata knowledge graph, but we also have a little graph database running internally to make sure that we are able to store all of this metadata and its relationships at scale. Finally, all of this information is made available to data stewards who can add business annotations so that we can meet all of these three use cases. Now, we'll talk about all the new things that we have added in the version 10.2.2. The key themes for our releases have not changed. Enterprise Data Catalog has been in the market for more than 2 years. This is the fourth major release of the product. 10.2.2 brings new connectivity, more AI, better user experience, enterprise scale as before, and additions to the open and extensible metadata platform. Let's go into details of what each of these capabilities are. So first, we'll talk about the new connectivity. So new scanners for Workday, Google BigQuery. There's a new remote metadata agent and the ability to provide filters while doing metadata extractions and profiling. Now let's look at each of these capabilities in detail. We have a new Workday Scanner that extracts metadata from the API layer of Workday. As this scanner brings in metadata, we bring in metadata from entities, business objects, Workday reports, any operations like API operations, data sources, and that feed into reports, and all of the services endpoints that are available in Workday. So it's not only just object metadata, it also includes lineage metadata from reports to business objects that are available. How is this useful? For if you are a data owner who's responsible for HR data sets, you can now get Workday metadata into the data catalog as well, manage all the key data elements for this HR system in the catalog, as well as make information in Workday available to data analysts, data scientists who are working with these data sets for any of their BI or data science needs as well. We also have a new Google BigQuery Scanner. Again, this supports metadata extraction only. There is no profiling support for this particular source yet. We can extract metadata like all of the relational metadata, tables, columns, views, databases into the data catalog. It also includes not just metadata, object metadata, but also lineage metadata in this catalog. So if you have an investment in the Google Cloud ecosystem, you can now extract metadata from Google BigQuery and make data sets from Google BigQuery available in the data catalog for governance and self-service analytics use cases as well. Now let's talk about the metadata filter. Now this is enterprise data catalog. When we bring in metadata from various different sources, today there is no, before 10.2.2, there was no capability to filter out metadata, like I don't want this particular table to show up in the catalog, or I want just this particular table to show in the data catalog. With the metadata filter, we now have inclusion and exclusion criteria based on SQL-like expression syntax. So users can provide these metadata filters to bring in just the tables that they want. So for example, if you want only production tables in the catalog, you can provide a metadata filter that says just give me production tables and nothing else in this metadata extract. And we will make sure that nothing else comes into the data catalog, and only the production, the prod star tables show up in the data catalog. How is this useful? Well, in some cases we have seen customers do want to, they have most of the schema is useful, and there are certain few tables that they don't want to show to their end users. So in those cases, you can use an exclusion filter to remove those tables out and bring most of the schema into the catalog. It also works the other way. In many cases, our users and administrators don't want to show all of the junk information that they have collected in the databases over the years. In those cases, you can include, you can have an inclusion filter that only brings in certain tables and views into the data catalog as well. This will be applicable only to relational sources in version 10.2.2. So relational sources like Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata, JDBC, and Redshift, and all of those relational sources that Informatica supports today for metadata extract. We also have a profile filter. It works the same way as the metadata filter, but this will basically be used for selecting tables and views for profiling, domain discovery, and similarity. This uses the same SQL syntax and expressions as the metadata filter. So this is an additional filter over metadata. Basically what that means is you can get extract let's say all of the production tables into the catalog, but say I only want to profile this one table and I'll leave everything else. With the profiling filter, you can provide these inclusion and exclusion criteria to get to an outcome like that. And this is useful in the same way. You may want to use, you may want to run profiling on only certain data sets or exclude certain large data sets which are in the catalog. With the profiling filter, you'll now be able to do that as well. The next theme is, and this is the major theme for the 10.2.2 release. Here we have included both top-down and bottom-up collaboration capabilities in the data catalog to provide for dataset certifications, reviews, and ratings. Have a question and answers platform built right in the system, and a new AI capability called Intelligent Glossary Associations. So let's go into each of these in detail. With dataset certifications, we now make the top-down collaboration possible. Basically, data owners, stewards, and subject matter experts can certify certain data sets and columns, saying that these are the right data sets to use for a particular kind of analysis. As an example, users can, a data steward or a subject matter expert can go to the right customer churn analysis data set and provide, certify it, saying that this is the right customer churn analysis data set that has to be used by everyone. They can also provide keywords while doing this certification, and that ensures that this particular data set appears at the top of the search results when a data consumer, like a data analyst or data scientist, searches for this data set. So the closest thing to this is Google AdWords. Just as you type your Google searches and there are ads that show up at the top of the search results based on keyword matches, we do the same thing, but we do this with data sets. How is it useful? So if you're a data consumer, as soon as you start doing this, doing the data cataloging, we've seen with our customers that there are 200 customer objects that show up, 500 supplier objects that show up across all of the different sources that are present in the enterprise. There are only the one right data set for each of these different domains, and by doing these certifications, we make sure that the data consumers use the right customer data set, the right supplier data set for their analytics need, right? So for your self-service users, instead of going and looking at all the multiple different data sets that should not be used, they use the right data set for their analysis. And of course, for data stewards and subject matter experts, it is one way of keeping track of all of the important data sets and key data elements that are important for data governance and data management needs as well. So for all of these certified data assets can be looked at by these data stewards and subject matter experts so that they can be used correctly by the end data consumers. So while dataset certifications was an example of top-down collaboration, the subject matter expert telling the user this is the right dataset to use, we've also added reviews and ratings capabilities in 10.2.2, which is an example of bottom-up collaboration. Here, catalog users can rate data assets and write reviews in the context of the data assets themselves. This works like Amazon. So if you've shopped on Amazon or any of the new web-based e-commerce portals, you'll see these reviews and ratings. Users can provide these ratings on the data sets. The higher rated data sets go up in the search result. And then we've also provided some management capabilities on these performance and ratings where users will be able to remove these in case they have become stale or are no longer required. Now, is this useful? Now, this is an example, as I said, of bottom-up collaboration capability, where you can tell your peers and all the other people who are working on this data set about what to expect from this data asset. So, in the data catalog, when you find these data assets, you will be able to know, whether it's fit for use, how's the data quality, whether it's reliable, when was it last updated. A lot of this information that sits in some people, some people know about this in an organization will now be made available to everyone who has, who's looking to work with this data set as well. Similarly, we've also added a new question and answers framework. Questions can be asked by any user on the data assets, again in the context of the data asset, and answers can be provided by any user who has at least a read permission on this data asset. So people can mark data assets helpful, and those data assets that are marked, those answers that are marked helpful will go up in the search ranking as well, and in the data asset too. How is this useful? Till now, all of these question and answers and any comments on these data sets, all of these things were done on email and phone calls. The problem with these mediums is that number one, that you'll have to keep answering the same questions from different users. Just to make sure, because as new users join in, they'll have the same questions. The same questions get to IT. They'll have to answer the same questions again. Now, with this capability, all of this information is centralized and is available in the context of the data set, so that users can answer these, look at these answers and get information about the data sets right away. So for these subject matter experts, you don't have to have multiple emails and phone calls, and for the data consumers, one place to find experts, ask their questions, get their answers, and then start working with the data sets. Now, I see one question on the questions from an audience. The question is EDC is part of IICS service, or do we need a separate console window? EDC is currently not a part of IICS. It's available on premises or as an install on AWS or Azure. This is a data catalog installation that you'll have to do on your, on your own instance, and then extract metadata from all of these different systems. However, having said that, we have an interesting integration now available with IICS. So if you have EDC installed in your organization, it can be on AWS Azure, or it can be on your on-premises systems. You will be able to connect from IICS to this EDC instance, and your mapping developers will be able to find the right data sets for including in the mappings as well. So this capability was introduced in R31 release of IICS and is now generally available. But of course, you need to have the enterprise data catalog installed first. All right, let's go forward. We've also added an intelligent business glossary association capability that's now available. Now, intelligent business glossary, one of the most tedious tasks in the data catalog is associating business glossary terms to columns. Right? This is in many organizations, you have hundreds of thousands of columns, sometimes millions of columns, and doing these associations for all of the important data sets becomes very, very difficult. So what we've done is we've built this new capability based on our AI engine called Claire that powers the automatic association of business terms with physical data sets. We use three techniques for doing these associations. The first technique uses the data domain discovery capability, where using rules like regular expressions or reference tables or more complex logic, you are able to identify what kind of column you're looking at. It can be credit card number, social security number, customer ID, employee ID, etc. We just by looking at the data sets and all of the other, all of the patterns of information and the value of information there, we are able to identify what kind of column it is. And by associating this data domain, as we call it, to the business glossary term, we can automatically now associate the business glossary term to those columns as well. Alongside this rule-based association, we also have an unsupervised clustering-based association. In the data catalog, as we bring metadata in, we are also clustering metadata together. We are also clustering columns together based on multiple different factors. So the four factors that we look at are data overlap, unique value overlap, pattern of information within the column, and even the column name. We look at all of these four factors and try to identify if it is similar to other columns that we have seen in the catalog. And once we find them, we cluster them together, and no user input is required. This is all completely unsupervised. So in the graph database that I was talking about, in that knowledge graph earlier that we discussed, we now have these column clusters that are available that can now be used for these glossary association capability as well. Now here what happens is a data steward needs to associate the business glossary term to just one of the columns in that cluster. And since we have already clustered these similar columns together, the business glossary term gets propagated to these other columns in the same cluster. Now this is like telling the data catalog, this is how my customer ID looks like, And any customer ID, any similar column to this that you see in the catalog, automatically associate the business glossary term to it. And if you see new columns coming in the data catalog that look like my customer ID column, you associate this customer ID business glossary term to it as well. So basically, a data steward needs to provide this information once or maybe a few times for the data catalog and Claire to learn this association. Once this association is done, the learning is complete, then the association of this particular business glossary term to all the columns becomes automatic. The third technique that we use for doing this association is completely name-based. Till now, we talked about domain discovery and data similarity, which require profiling of the data, require access to the data itself to do this clustering and then domain discovery. For the third technique, we don't need any access to data. Here, the association is done just on the metadata. Use NLP techniques to identify if customer ID is really cust_ID that's provided, and automatically associate these business glossary terms as well. Now, this particular capability is called name match or Claire match. Claire match automatically associates, it sees this contract underscore name and associates contract name business glossary term to it. The technique is called sequence alignment. It is used for, in the industry, it is used for doing DNA analysis and then filling in information for DNA markers for which all information is not available. Use the same technique for doing these technical terms to business term association. Now, so based on all of these techniques, right, we actually took a customer data set and tried out these techniques and made sure that all of the algorithms that we had were working on real life data sets. Now, in this case, this customer had a big data warehouse, close to 21,000 mappings. Sorry, close to 21,000 column names in that data warehouse, and over a period of 4 months. They had done business glossary associations to all the columns in this particular data set. Now, so for 4 months, they sat down and associated business glossary terms to 21,000 of these columns. We took this data set, only the metadata, no data in-house, and we tried to replicate their scenario. We tried to run our new Claire match algorithm to automatically associate their business glossaries as well. And when we did that, we were able to associate 18,000 columns automatically with a 99% precision. And in some cases, things that our algorithm found, was known to be incorrect. When we showed it to the user, they said that, okay, it was a human mistake. It was really, the algorithm was correct, and it was really doing the right thing for that association as well. And all of this in less than 10 minutes. So basically, the whole tedious task of associating the right business glossary terms to tables, columns, it made it much more easier to get information get all of these business glossary associations done within the catalog with a very high precision. User experience, so we've added capabilities for doing change notifications. Now, this is one of my favorite features of this release. What this allows users to do is it allows you to see 3 kinds of changes. First, you can now follow a particular database or a table, right? It works at 2 levels. You can follow a resource or an individual data set like a table, view, file, or report. If you're following a data set, you can get notifications on 3 kinds of changes. Number 1, you get notifications on any source changes. So for example, a new column is getting added, a column is getting renamed, a column is getting deleted. You change the data type of a column, you change the precision of a column, you change the table name, you archive a table, etc. For all of these different changes, users get the change notification. So that's the source change. The second kind of change is collaboration change. Now, collaboration change, remember all of the collaboration capabilities that we just saw. With the new change notification capabilities, if you're following a data set and you're getting, any users are adding comments, ratings, questions, answers, certifications for all of these user actions, you will get a change notification as well. The third kind of change is the enrichment changes or governance changes. So association of business glossary terms, changes to custom attribute values, data domain discovery changes. You will get change notifications for all those as well. Now this is very useful if you're a data analyst or a data scientist and you have some favorite data sets that you're working with, and you can follow them and make sure that you're staying on top of any changes that are happening to these data sets. But if you're in IT or if you're in a governance team and you're responsible for the management of these databases, you can also follow the databases and resources at the resource level, which means that any changes happening to a particular resource. A resource is a set of metadata elements grouped together in the catalog. You will be able to see any change, any source changes that are happening to this data set as well. Now these change notifications come in two flavors. One, there is a new in-app change notification center, so you'll be able to see them there. And second, these also show up in your email inbox. So we send out these change notifications based on your preferences, whether you want it on every change or on as a digest, weekly, monthly, and so on. We have a new business glossary assignment report. You can see, go to a resource and find all the columns that don't have a business glossary term associated to it. If you're a data steward, this is very important. You need to make sure that for key data elements, the right business glossary terms are assigned. And this report will give you the coverage percentage and how many business glossary terms are not associated with, how many columns are not associated with the column. We continue to make sure that we design for large enterprises and then not just for hobbyists, right? So we have remote metadata scanner and a large number of performance improvements in this release as well. Now, remote metadata scanner is very interesting. So when we speak to large financial customers or healthcare customers, we almost always have these cases where they have this important database that they want to catalog and bring into the enterprise data catalog, but the problem is that that database is behind a firewall or is in a place where we cannot directly connect to as well. So with the remote metadata scanner, we can now take the catalog to where no direct connectivity is possible as well. So basically, we now have a command line utility that can be taken in the same subnet where this database, inaccessible database, is available. It does not need any network connection to the data catalog. It can run standalone and extract metadata from that database. It generates a metadata archive file, which can then be uploaded into the enterprise data catalog. So you don't need any direct connection to the, you don't need a online, always on connection to the data catalog. You can do this process offline and then upload this file to the data catalog. And once this metadata is available, you will be able to see it like any other metadata resource in the catalog. So this capability is available for Oracle, SQL Server, and Teradata in the first release, and we will add more data sources as we go along. A lot of performance improvements in this release. There is a new graph remodel that has been done. One of the key things, if you are a Power Center user, then if you're a Power Center user and you want to see data lineage from Power Center, earlier the same process that used to take 84 hours in 10.2.1 got down to 17 hours in 10.2.1 update 1, but in 10.2.2 that's now down to 3 minutes because of the new graph redesign that has been done. Some of the other jobs in the data catalog have become much faster as well, like purging of the data catalog and reindexing. All of these are now much more faster. Scanners run much faster in 10.2.2 as well. We have all of the change notification capabilities that we talked about have APIs as well. So those can not only be seen through the UI in the data catalog, they can also be seen through, they can also be accessed through APIs. Now, most of the metadata repository in the enterprise data catalog is available through APIs. Being an open and extensible platform is very important to Informatica. So since the first version of the enterprise data catalog, all of the APIs for this, for the product are made available to users and partners who can develop their own applications or own integrations using that API as well. All right. Let me quickly jump to a demo and show you how this particular, how this release looks in real life. All right. So you should now be able to see my screen. This is the Enterprise Data Catalog version 10.2.2. I'm going to log into the catalog here. Remember I said Google for enterprise data assets, not really kidding. Big search box in the middle of the screen where you can start coming in and start searching for data assets that you're looking for. Now for this demo, the scenario that I'm going to play out is this. I'm going to be a data analyst at an airline firm. I'm looking for Net Promoter Score data. Basically, I want to analyze how does my Net Promoter Score get affected? What are the key factors affecting my Net Promoter Score? Is it the leg space? Is it the Wi-Fi? Is it the service? What are some of those key factors that affect my Net Promoter Score so that I can invest on those factors and make sure that those are what my customers are looking for? So I'll come to the data catalog. I'm the data analyst. Now I'm going to search for Net Promoter Score data, right? So I'm going to search for NPS, Net Promoter Score. I'm going to do this. Now what the catalog does is it quickly brings in all of the different search results pertaining to Net Promoter Score. And if you've seen enterprise data catalog before, one difference that you'll see now in this release is this certified data set for Net Promoter Score that appears at the top of the search results. Now, the reason this particular data set appeared here is because a data steward or a subject matter expert has gone ahead and certified this data asset. It said that very good data asset for NPS factors, provided some keywords like NPS and Net Promoter Score. And because he's done that, this Net Promoter Score data set, when I search for NPS, appears at the top of the search result itself. Now, I could have searched for something like Net Promoter Score as well, and it not have affected the rating of the placement of this particular data set. It would still have appeared at the top of the search result. Remember, your business users like data analysts, data scientists, they'll search for data assets in business user terminology. They'll not be searching for data assets in the technical terms that IT knows about. So it's very important that they get to the right, relevant, trusted data set by using the certification capability that's available. We also have this new filter that's available here where you can say, just give me certified assets for NPS, and then it will result in just that one search result. Now I'm going to go into the Net Promoter Score data asset. Remember, I'm the data analyst looking for factors. So I can look at the descriptions. All of these capabilities are from before. You can see the data owners, data stewards, and so on, other classifications. But the new thing, again, compared to what you would have seen in the earlier versions of the catalog, is this new review section in the data catalog. So just like Amazon, you can come to the data catalog. You can add your reviews and ratings to the data catalog right here. You can provide your ratings, and based on the rating, we bring this object higher or lower in the search results as well. I'm going to click on show all and look at all of the reviews here. People can mark reviews helpful. The more helpful reviews go up in the search results. You can enter your own review. So I already have reviewed this. So I'm going to say my new review here. I'm going to provide a new rating and submit. Enterprise Data Catalog will ask me to replace my existing review because I don't want to have a 1-star and a 5-star review for the same data set, of course. So I'm going to have my new review replace the existing review here. and then this review is now made available to everyone in the catalog. How is this useful? Number one, while you're searching for something, remember I searched for NPS, right? And then there may not always be somebody to certify this data asset. And in those cases, based on what users are doing, right, what my peers are doing, I can say just give me 4-star and above data sets, and which narrows it down to just these 2 data sets that I can now work with and look at to see what are the right Net Promoter Score data sets to use. This also helps in for users who come to this data set to understand what is this data set good for, right? So here there is a review that says that this data set was used for the fall campaign, has latest scores from 2018, perfect. Now, even before I looked at any of the technical information, I now know something about the data set. Contains all the factors needed for factor analysis. So now I can do, that was the main thing I wanted to do on this data set as well. So I know that this is a good data set for my analytic need as well. Now this is the reviews and ratings capability. There's a new capability for doing question and answers on the data set as well. So as users of these data sets, data analysts, data scientists, line of business users, data engineers, mapping developers, you can come to this to the catalog at this page and start asking your questions here. Now these questions get sent to the subject matter experts, data stewards, and all the other people who are following this data set, who can now start answering your questions. Go click on show all and see all of the different questions here. So here you can see questions like, are the survey scores in the data set standardized? As an important question. So I see the answer like they are scaled and all ratings are standardized out of 5. More helpful answers get votes from other users, just like any other social question and answer site. More helpful answers go up as well. You can do things like paste images in answers and all of the good things that you can do with any question and answer site. How is this useful? It is useful because now all of the site conversation on emails and phone calls that the subject matter experts and data stewards had to answer to individual data consumers are centralized in one place. It's available for everyone to see, and it's also available to the system which indexes this information. Make sure that any of these questions or queries that come up in the search query itself, we bring up this particular data set in those cases as well. So useful for both humans to understand the context. I'm new to this data set. I can ask my questions. I can understand what other users have done, as well as for machines to bring this data set up in the search results too. Now, with these new capabilities like certifications, reviews, question and answers, I already know a lot about these data sets. Now, for those who have not seen the data catalog in earlier versions, there is a data lineage capability that's available here as well. So automatic data lineage that we can extract out of various sources that we connect to, like Informatica Power Center, Microsoft SSIS, Informatica Big Data Management, Informatica Cloud, Cloudera Navigator. So all of these different sources, we are able to automatically extract metadata and lineage so that you can see this end-to-end picture. Right now, this is not a new capability in 10.2.2. You can add more levels to the lineage diagram based on whether you're a business user or a technical user or want to see more details. You can go down up to the metric level, see transformation logic, see impact analysis reports. You can do all of those things in the data catalog. All of these are existing capabilities before 10.2.2. Also, as a data consumer, you can go to the columns of a data assets and look at profiling results. As we are bringing metadata into the catalog, we not only just bring in metadata, we also profile those columns. So you can look at a column like arrival delay over here. And if you have the right permissions, look at the value frequency, which is the most frequently occurring columns. So you need to have, of course, the right permissions. You can see other similar columns. Remember the unsupervised clustering I was talking about, the pattern of information, all of the profiling results. You can see all of them in one single view. And you can associate business glossary terms to it as well. So if you have a business glossary, Informatica Business Glossary or Axon, you can bring those business glossary terms and associate them to these technical columns as well. Now for this demo, I associated all of these business glossary terms to these technical data sets manually. So all of this was manual. There were only 25 columns and I had to do this manually. But that itself was difficult. Now, if you have to do this for thousands and thousands of columns, then you can realize how difficult it will be. In the data catalog, we have multiple different methods to make this process easier. We have import-export capabilities, we have Excel business glossary associations, we have APIs, but all of these require human input. With the new capability that we have added in version 10.2.2, automatic glossary associations are now possible. Basically, I'm going to show you a data set, a resource, a database called CRMS. Now, CRMS is an Oracle database and has multiple different columns. In 10.2.2, we've added this new business glossary resource, new business glossary assignment table. So I can look at all the columns that are available. And alongside that, now I have recommendations for business glossary terms. Now, the way these recommendations work, I'm going to click on the type column. Now, the reason the elite level business glossary term was recommended for this type column was because our system was able to find a similar column called cust_type. The distinct values in this column are same as distinct values in this column, and recommended the same business glossary term that was associated manually to this cust_type column for this business glossary column as well. So if you're a data steward, you can just come here and accept this, and the business glossary term will get associated. Now, we've also added capabilities to automatically do these associations, where if the confidence level is beyond a certain point, the business glossary association gets done automatically and is not available as a recommendation only. Now, this was a toy data set. I created this data set myself, has 8 tables. But for this demo, I'm also going to show you University of Michigan data set. So I got this data set off the internet. There is accounts receivable data sets that's available here, which has all of these different tables and some of the business glossary terms that are associated to it. So we ran our algorithm on top of the same tables and business glossary associations, and we were able to do a large number of associations automatically. Look at things like accounts receivable item sequence number, business unit descriptions, fund code, owner accounts receivable item activity entry amount. You are able to do these associations at a large scale. And remember that customer data set that I was showing you the statistics for. 4 months of work, we were able to squeeze it down into 8 minutes, and we were able to do 18,000 business glossary associations at a 99% precision rate using this particular capability. So very, very useful. It really brings down, it increases the productivity of the data stewards who are in charge of doing these associations and making the manual work go away. So the final capability that I'm going to show you in this demo is the new change notification capability. So as a data analyst, data scientist, you can go and follow a particular table. So you can go and say net promoter score is something that I'm interested in. And when you're following in it, you can see source changes, enrichment changes, collaboration changes, and you get change notifications for all those as it happens to this particular data set. These change notifications come up as in the change notification center. So there's a new change notification center that we have built in the data catalog, where you can see all of the changes that are made available. You can filter it down. You can see changes in the last 24 hours only, and various different kinds of changes that you want, and you can search for by asset name itself. Plus, these change notifications are available as emails also. So these these change notifications get sent on every change, or if you want it as digests on daily, weekly, or monthly basis as well. How is this useful? If you're a data analyst or a data scientist, you don't have to now rely on people to tell you when the data sets are changing. You just follow these data sets, and as the data catalog scans these data sets and made aware of these changes, they will be made available in your change notification center and your email inbox. You can also see all the different followed assets in your own view as well. So this is kind of like your favorite screen. Now, the capability I showed you for the change notifications work at the data set level, but they also work at the resource level. Right? Resources is the full database or the schema level where you're working with these data sets. Now, if you are in the data management business or data governance business, that's your role, then you would be interested in following the resource instead of individual data sets themselves. And here we only provide the physical source changes, and then the same notifications are available in the notification centers and the email. Also, these notifications are available in the change summary tab over here as well. Now for this demo, what I did was, first I created this contact table in this schema called CRM in a database called ORCL. So very simple contact table with all of these 4 columns in the schema, and it's made available here. Right, so you can see all of these information as this resource was scanned. Then I went to SQL and started making changes to that database. First, I created a contact backup table. I basically copied the contact table into contact backup. Then I created a new primary key. So basically there was a column called customer ID, and I made that as a primary key. I added 2 columns, first name and last name, to the contact table. I renamed the column type to elite status, and I changed the data type of age from number to varchar2. And finally, I created another table called contact details with new columns and a foreign key constraint from this table to my contact table. So I made all of these changes and rescanned this particular database in my data catalog again. And when that scan happens, these are all the different changes that the catalog comes up with. So for example, it tells you that there is a new contact backup table that was created with the same columns as contact. So customer ID, stage, gender, and type over here. It tells you for the contact table, there were 2 columns that were added, first name and last name, and elite status was added and type was deleted. We cannot still get information on whether this was renamed. So we see this information as added and deleted. So elite status was added and deleted was type. Similarly, we get information that customer ID is now a new primary key for this column. So here you can see that the nullable value was set from true to false for customer ID, and the primary key column was set to true for this particular column as well. For cust age, we gathered the change in the data type as well, from number to varchar2, position from 4 to 6, and the data type length from 38 to 30 as well. So very, very granular changes, including foreign key, primary key, all of those different changes are captured by this change notification system, which works at both the resource level and the data set level. If you are in IT, if you are in data governance, these physical data assets need not be a black box to you anymore. Any changes that are happening, any changes that can break a reporting system when it's run tomorrow, you'll be able to get these changes right away. If you are a data steward, and you have to associate business glossary terms to any new columns coming into the data lake, you can use these change notification capabilities, understand all of the new columns that are coming into the data lake, and you will be able to associate these business glossary terms to those new columns as they're coming in. So a lot of different use cases for these change notification capabilities. So quickly recapping, what all did we see? We saw a host of new social collaboration capabilities, certifications, top-down certifications, bottom-up reviews and ratings, question and answers. We saw the data lineage capabilities that exist in the catalog. We also saw profiling capabilities and business glossary association capabilities. Then I took you through the intelligent glossary association capabilities, which take away all of the manual work in doing these glossary associations to the technical data assets. And finally, we saw some of the change notification capabilities for both the data analyst, who can follow things at the data set level, and for the data management professional or a data governance professional, who can follow it at the resource level and stay on top of the changes. There are a lot more new capabilities, as I showed you: Workday Scanner, Google BigQuery Scanner, Remote Metadata Scanner. So all of those are available in the version 10.2.2 as well. So with that, let me go back to my presentation and show you all of the, so basically, we quickly recap. For all of the 4 journeys, whether you are in a digital transformation journey going from on-premises systems to clouds, and you're looking at doing cloud data management, or you're doing self-service analytics journey where you're setting up a data lake, you're making sure that your data analysts, data scientists get access to the right data set. If you're on a 360 MDM journey, master data management journey, or if you're on data governance and compliance journey, data cataloging, understanding the metadata of all of the different assets is the first step for any of these journeys. Even for data integration jobs, for mapping developers, for your data analysts, for your data stewards, data catalog gives you what's really happening in your environment today. With that, we'll do a quick wrap up. We have a new webinar that's coming up with our customer Mattel, who's using the enterprise data catalog for their analytics program as well as data governance program. So that's set up for April 23. If you're interested, please do sign up. And of course, our Informatica World event is coming up in Vegas in the week of May 20th as well. And we are going to be talking a lot about data catalog at this event as well. So please sign up and then get more information about each of these different resources that are available. With that, I'll thank you. If you have any questions, please post them on the questions from the audience section. I have one question right now, which says, is it possible to get any help while installing EDC in my current work environment? Yes, absolutely. So we have a great customer services organization as well as a consulting organization who can help you with setting up enterprise data catalog for your metadata management needs. The second question is this session recorded? Yes, the session will be recorded and will be made available on web. Those are all the questions I have. Thanks for attending this session, and we'll be signing out now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.